Everyone, this is Makai Costa with the Athletes section. Today we have a special guest who played basketball for the University of Alabama, and I'll let her introduce herself.
What's up, y'all? Megan Abrams. As she said, I did play basketball at Alabama. It was a long 5 years, but I currently work in sports, and I just have fun telling my stories on TikTok.
Love that. Yes, as she mentioned, she started last year with content creation. We're going to get into that too, but content creation and just telling her stories with a podcast and on TikTok called Crimson Chronicles. And She tells about her experience and all the crazy stories she had playing against current WNBA players who played against her in college. So we're going to get into all of that and just her whole story. So let's do it.
For sure. I'm excited.
So last year, I saw on LinkedIn, actually, you posted that 2024 was a year of growth for you. So you started, like we mentioned, content creation. You did the Crimson Chronicles, but then you also ended off the year having your broadcast debut at your high school. So we're going to get into the Crimson Chronicles in a minute, but tell me a little bit about the growth that you've experienced through 2024 and then also debuting your broadcast career.
Yeah, it's crazy that it still feels like I should be in college a little bit. I think it's definitely interesting how everything has worked out. But like you said, I've just been growing. Like, I think the big thing about sports is that you've played it for so long. And then all of a sudden it just stops. And you're trying to like navigate through that. What do I actually like to do? What are my hobbies? And I'm a yapper. So I was like, why don't I just figure out how I can, use that to my advantage? And that's really what happened. I've been so blessed, I will say, to be in the position that I've been in. I mean, I was just at home for the holidays and I was watching my old high school play in a tournament. I was just there for fun. And my high school coach was like, "Do you have plans tonight?" And I was like, "No, why?" He was like, "Why don't you commentate the game with Pastor Jay?" And I was like, "You're telling me this 3 hours before the game is supposed to start. I have no practice, like no preparation, but whatever, I'm just going to go for it and do it." And actually, worked out. It was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So it's just like being open to trying new opportunities is something that I've really tried to lean into in 2024. And it ended the year off great and really kicked off my 2025 for sure.
Yeah, we love that nice segue into the new year, already starting things off nice and fresh and kind of like tapping into things that you didn't realize you were good at or things that you didn't realize, wait, I kind of want to get more into this going into the new year. So that's a nice transition and segue into 2025.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think you want to do more broadcast opportunities in your future this year?
I think so. Like, again, I'm kind of at the point where, depending on what the ask is, like, I don't want to say no to anything. I'm very, very open to like trying new things. As I said, I'm trying to still navigate life without basketball, like what my hobbies actually are. So I definitely would be open to it, especially now that I'm like getting into this content creating space and watching more basketball, being a fan of the game and stuff. So I definitely could see myself doing it. Funny enough, when I got to college, I actually wanted to do sports broadcasting, but I was definitely more shy, more reserved. It didn't work out. It was not in the cards for me at that point. So for me to kind of have this full circle moment has definitely been awesome.
Yeah, that is really nice. It just kind of shows you like it might have been instilled in your heart and been a passion, but it still can come around full circle and just be presented to you the opportunity for you to still fulfill. So I love that.
Right, yeah.
So as you're because I also talked to another athlete in the last episode and she just graduated, and was now kind of like navigating also post-grad life away from her sport. And it's like, I think she still wants to see if she can go pro, but we was kind of talking about how we still had to find ways as postgraduates to find yourself and find different things you like to do. Like you mentioned, find hobbies that you want to tap into, interests. So what are some things mentally that you're able to kind of tell yourself or get through each day as you're still trying to discover these things?
Yeah, I think it's just literally one day at a time. I mean, it's something that I learned being an athlete in college is like be where your feet are. So I think that's kind of like the mentality that I have. I do like you have an idea of like where you want to be or like kind of goals you may have, but sometimes you don't always know how you're going to get there. And I think that's the kind of the beauty of the journey. It's not really a linear thing. So I think that's just kind of the mindset that I have is to just kind of take it one day at a time. Don't get too like low on the lows and don't get too high with the highs. Just kind of stay calm and level. And things will work out the way they're supposed to. Everything happens for a reason, and you are where you're supposed to be. So that's kind of the mindset that I have.
Yeah, I truly believe that, and have also been experiencing that through my post-grad journey as well. But have also been able to tap into interests and hobbies and discover and find out more about myself. So it's like a day-to-day thing. I like to have a whole plan of like how things are supposed to go, and this is the way I planned it. And then when they don't go that way, I'm like, what the heck? But like you said, just taking it day by day and not looking at it as a linear piece is just able to kind of help you navigate that journey a little bit easier. So I like doing that.
It's definitely like easier said than done though. Like, yeah. I mean, I still have my days where it's like, what am I doing? Like, what is next? Like, still trying to figure that out, but just like staying patient. I think that's just the really big thing.
Patience. That's God's trying to teach me that this year too. Yeah, so let's talk about the Crimson Chronicles. So that's actually how I found you and reached out to you because I was like, wait, these stories are really interesting. I think it was the Ryan Howard story that caught my attention, and I was like, oh wait, this is really interesting. So you said that you started this in December last year, right? So not too long ago.
Nope.
Literally last month. Wow. I mean, by the time this airs, it will be February, like the end of February. But yeah, December 2024 was really not too long ago. Tell me how it all came about, how you started, just the whole process, and then where you want to see it grow as it continues.
Yeah, so honestly, there's really not much of a story to it. Like, I really wish there was some like really profound thing that I could say, but like my first video was Coach Yo, and she told me that's a brick.
That was funny.
For me, that is like probably my most remembered memory of my college career. Like it was my freshman year, like that really stuck with me all throughout college and literally up until I made the TikTok about it. So it was like, it literally has always been on my heart. Like Coach Yo has always been on my heart. And I literally got off work one day and I was sitting in my car and I was like, why don't I just make a TikTok about it? Like, and, I was able to like find the clip because it's like, I know people are not going to be like, oh, like she's lying, but I feel like adding the clip just really, added like icing on top.
Extra. Yeah. Yes.
Right. So I was just like, okay, I really wasn't expecting it to like take off as much as it did. But it did. Like Overtime Women's Basketball reposted it or like added it to their page or whatever. And I was like, oh, like people like this, kind of stuff. I really honestly didn't think I was that great of a storyteller that people would like, tune into it. But that was like my first one, and I just kind of randomly posted during the week, and it took off. So I was like, maybe I can turn this into a series. So that's what happened. I mean, even like my little intro that I do, like I just thought like all of that was on the fly. Like I literally just got in my car after work, and I was just like, okay, let's just do something, and that's how it came about.
Those are literally like the best videos though. Those are the ones that you don't expect to blow up, or the ones that you're like, okay, I'm just gonna, post this real quick, or the ones that people are more in tuned in, or the ones that you don't put as much time and effort in. And you're like, I put all this time and effort in these TikToks only for me to just go up here and start talking. That's the one that blows up.
No, literally. Yeah.
But though, I mean, that's really neat though. I really enjoy listening to them. Like I want to get into that story because I actually wanted to talk about like your most memorable moment, and since you said that was one, Actually, we can get into it now. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that. Let's talk about that.
Like, it's just so wild to me because, like I said in my video, like my freshman year, like I suck. Like I suck so bad. The reason why I was even playing is because we were plagued with injuries. Like our starting point guard, like was out for the season with a wrist injury. So like I just kind of got thrown into the starting lineup. If I'm being completely transparent, I probably wasn't as prepared as I should have been for that moment. But it was there, and I got my first start like literally um, the game before conference started, before SEC play started. So I was just really thrown into the fire. I didn't really shoot, like my form was messed up. So but the team they sag off of me. So it's like I have to shoot it. Like I literally have to shoot it. And Coach Yo was right behind me. I didn't know she was behind me, but I just hear her so clearly say, "That's a brick." And like he was actually, I didn't realize how close she was until I looked back at the video. But she was like maybe a couple feet from me, and it's like, oh. And I mean, it was a brick, and she like that's what the scouting report said. Driver, layup maker. That's what the scout said. Oh, so she really just, I would say, Coach Yo was a motivation of mine to really to really get my shooting together. It took me a whole nother year to get, like, it wasn't until my junior year that I actually became I would say a streaky shooter. Like people actually had to respect me.
Yeah.
But Coach Yo, that moment was always in the back of my mind just because of how early it was into my career. Because at that point, I think up until that game where I started, I hadn't really played. Like I'd been playing maybe 5 minutes a game. Like I was not playing at all. To then all of a sudden go to like 30 minutes a game. So it was a lot at one time. But yeah, I guess shout out to Coach Yo for insulting me. that made me get my basketball career together.
Yeah, I started that momentum and drive.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine like my freshman year, like I'm on a basketball team, at this big university, excited, getting out there, and then someone behind me yelling, "That's a break." My confidence would be shot. Like, I'm trying to see what I'm doing here.
Actually, it's like, do I need to be on the court? Like, coach, do I need to sub? Like,
I'm out.
Like, do I need to take myself out? Like, what's going on? It's different. Like, I don't really, when I was playing, like, I didn't really hear the crowd, but like, it's one thing if it was coming from like a fan or like just someone but from the other team's coach. It's actually crazy.
Right in my ear.
Yeah, but like it's all cool. Like it was funny that she responded to the video. Like I didn't know you heard me. Like coach, you're 2 feet away from me.
Right.
Like after all these years. Yeah, yeah.
I remember.
I do remember.
Don't you? That is funny. Wow, that's a good story to start off. I can see how that will blow up on TikTok. Like people, yeah. That's a really good story.
Yeah, it helps that like people know, like just because I did play in the SEC, like and Ole Miss has been like on an upward trajectory since then. Like that also helped too. And I feel like it's very on brand for Coach Yo. So people, it's like funny, but like not surprising at the same time.
Right, like okay, I can see that.
Yeah, exactly.
That is funny. Wow. So tell me, we're going to get a little bit more into your experience at Alabama as well, but tell me a little bit about your start with basketball. How did it all start for you and kind of spark your interest in wanting to play in a collegiate level?
Yeah, so I would say I come from a pretty athletic family. My dad, although he didn't play in college, like in high school, he was athletic. He did high jump in high school. So I get it from that. And then his sister, my aunt, she played volleyball at UL, or it was USL at the time, but she played college volleyball, and then all 4 of her kids, my first cousins, all of them played D1 sports. So it kind of is like in my family a little bit, and then I fell in love with basketball You start off with like, your soccers, and I played
Mm-hmm.
volleyball for 1 year, but I was really just I had a God given talent for basketball, I will say. So I was just very blessed in that way. And I probably realized that I was gonna play in college probably when I was like 8. Like I
Okay.
think it started to get pretty kind of serious. Like I was always playing up like 1 or 2 years because I was like better than the kids that were my age. So I was in like 5th grade playing with like the 7th and 8th graders in middle school. And then in AAU, I was in 7th grade. I was playing against high schoolers. Like, I mean, they all went D1. Like that whole team that I was playing with in 7th grade all went D1. And I mean, they would beat me up. Like it really, I think it really got me into like this is what high school is going to be like, and this is what college is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that's really when it started. Like I said, I really had a God given talent, so I was just blessed to really be able to be in that position. My hometown college, UL, they were my first offer as a freshman in high school. So I kind of felt, well, one, I knew I didn't want to stay in my hometown. Like that wasn't gonna be, I think, beneficial for me. But after that, I kind of like had a few different options, like of SEC schools that were really the only schools that recruited me. But yeah, it ultimately came down to Bama and LSU. Vandy was there at the end, but they ran out of scholarships, so it came down between Bama and LSU. And Baton Rouge is maybe like 45 minutes, an hour from where I'm from, so it's
Okay.
kind of like the same thing. Like I'm going to college with the people I went to high school with, middle school with. It's like, you know, and Kayla Pointer was on the team at the time. So it's like, is that somebody I want to play behind because she's only a year older than me, or
Mm-hmm.
a year, 2 years, something like that. So it's just like, Bama really just gave the best fit for me. So I think that's kind of how I ended up there.
Okay. And like you mentioned, a lot of your family went to schools in Louisiana and played sports from there. And then your thing was like, I didn't want to stay at home, which is a fair argument. So how was it playing under Coach Curry, and just like her leadership? What was it that kind of struck out to you when you got that offer that said, okay, I think Bama might be this team. Like, I feel like you're going to cultivate what I need in order to grow as a player and as a person and as a student.
Yeah. So I think like one, it was being away from home. Like I said, just getting a different experience, but like I was still 5.5 hours away from home. So like my parents were still able to come and drive to my games and come see me play quite often. So I think that also helped, where it's like I'm, being able to like get on my feet and like grow up a little bit on my own, but at the same time, like close enough for my family to still come support me. And honestly, I think like playing at Bama, they had been like on the line of like making the tournament for a few years now. Like they had a really good team, but the SEC like was deep. Like they had the 2017 South Carolina team that they had to go through. So it's like things like that where they were like right there. And with Coach Curry being from Louisiana, and at the time that I was being recruited, one of the assistant coaches was also from Louisiana, who coached with my high school head coach. So it's like I had family ties like that, a little bit, that also made the decision easier. It's like still have my Louisiana ties, like still kind of have that at home feeling. I mean, that assistant coach, her name is Coach Brooks. She's at Southern Miss now, but like she was getting king cakes, from around Mardi Gras time, shipped to Alabama and stuff.
Okay.
So it still has that at home feel.
Yeah, home away from home.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was a big thing. And then, like I said, leaving a legacy, like they hadn't been to the tournament since 1999. So it's like I wanted to be a part of that. Like I wanted to help, like not only help, but like play and have a significant role in that. Excuse me. And I felt like I had the best opportunity to do that at Alabama. And I mean, Coach Curry, like that's my dog. Like, like we're cool, and I had a really good experience. I can't complain too much. I mean, from on the court, off the court, we had the relationship to where, like, I was on the fence about if I wanted to continue to play after college. But I always knew that education was like a big part of my experience and like what I wanted to do in life. So she helped me along with the rest of like the Alabama student athlete development staff to like really set myself up for life after basketball in my career. And I think Coach Curry really poured into that. And she kind of gave me a little leeway to like navigate that, which I really appreciate. And I think that's part of the reason why I sit where I sit today. So I'm very blessed and thankful for my experience, because I know not everyone really has that experience, especially with me staying at the same place for 5 years.
Yeah, it is a very unique and special experience, especially to have that home away from home feeling and it's that family tie feeling. So you're not homesick, but then you're also learning and cultivating in a whole new place. And yeah, you're still able to get all of that in one sitting. So I love that. That's a
Yeah,
good
for sure.
Speaking of education, I saw that you're also the valedictorian at Lafayette Christian School or Christian Academy back in high school. So tell me about the work and dedication it took to get you there, and how did it translate when you went to college?
Yeah, so I think it was really, I like, I've just, I keep saying this, but I feel like I've just been so blessed with the life that God has given me. I mean, my parents from a beginning, like my mom and her side of the family is not really athletic. Like I really get it from my dad's side. So my mom was the one that, I mean, my dad too, but my mom was really the one, always one, like education, like make sure you get your education. So I think they kind of, it was a balance, right? My mom was like education focused. My dad was in the gym with me, making sure I was like straight for basketball. Yeah, exactly. So I had like the best of both worlds. And yeah, I mean, I think that's honestly, I forget sometimes that I was valedictorian, honestly. But I think that's kind of like a fun fact of mine, I guess, that I was
Very impressive, yeah.
yeah, thank you. But
I saw that, I was like, oh, let me ask her about that. That's really neat.
yeah, like fun fact. But it was like really cool. Like my dad was he was the public information officer at UL. So he was the one, like anytime something went on campus, like he was the police officer that was in front of the camera telling the news. So he was very like in front of the camera, like has public speaking down. He was at orientation giving like the police safety talks. Like he was the one that kind of like also helped me like be comfortable, I feel like, at the point where I am today. But yeah, so he helped me write my valedictorian speech. Like I think he's the one that definitely helped me with my storytelling abilities for real, because I mean, from like little things like, you know, add this inflection in your voice here, and then like after you say this, like pause a little bit, or you know. So he was really like coaching me like that, and I feel like at the time it's like dad, like what, like okay. But now that I'm on the internet, like telling these stories, and like people are complimenting me on my storytelling ability, I'm like, like
coming back.
Maybe you were onto something, Dad. Like, yeah, like that's cool.
One little thing.
Yeah, you might have ate that one. You did your big one for sure.
Yeah. It's always like that. I feel like my parents, even to this day, my parents have instilled certain things in me, or even like put certain visions in my mind back when I was younger, and I'd be like, no, I'm not trying to do all that. I'm trying to hear all that. And then later on, it comes to fruition. I'm like, I mean, y'all might have been right. Y'all might have been on the.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah, that's really great. It's something else I was gonna say and I forgot what it was, but it's okay. I'll come back to it. But that's really great. I mean, yeah, you are a really good storyteller, because I feel like for me, when I tell stories, I have so many details like all over the place. I have to kind of get it all into one and like get everything straight, but like you're like to the point but also painting a picture, so I know I can see everything vividly as you're talking or as you're telling the story, and even like showing the clips. That's a good aspect to it. So I like you said, like your dad definitely did a really good job with helping with that, because not everyone is a good story. We may have good stories to tell, but not everyone is a good storyteller.
Yeah.
So that
definitely made me a little nervous too, because I think I know for me, TikTok definitely I feel like didn't help with my attention span.
Oh,
Right? So so it's like I'm some of these stories that I'm telling are like, a minute and a half or like 2 minutes. I mean, I think one of my longest TikToks was probably 3 minutes. And it's like, are people really like gonna listen to this? So I think I try my best to like not make it too long, but like also like you said, like paint the picture so that you guys know what I'm talking about. So then when I actually show the clip, it's like, does it match like what I had in my head, or like is it something different? Like what does that actually look like? So
yeah.
I think that's kind of like the balance that I try to do with my stories.
Yeah, I love that. It really does. It really is a great aspect to have. A really great. It's another word I'm trying to use, but yeah, it's a really great aspect to have when you can tell a really good story. People can be engaged, especially like with the attention span of TikTok. I'll be like, I can't. I'm not in the mood to watch a movie. I don't have the attention span to watch a movie, but I'll be on TikTok for like 3 hours.
Yes, exactly.
So
Somewhere.
yeah, I mean, I did a dumb thing as TikTok shut down. I offloaded my app. And so I can't get back on it
Yeah.
until whenever they put it back on the App Store. But see, I'm trying to get my attention span back. But I'm still trying to keep up with Instagram Reels. I guess I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Died up. But see, now you have, this, like I said, 2025 is the year of growth, right? Getting your attention span back. There's an opportunity.
There we go.
To maximize, maximize opportunity. Yeah.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Yeah, so true. So you talked about your family members, your cousins, your aunt, your parents. I also saw that you have a brother as well. Are you the older, younger?
He's young. Oh Lord, he's older than me. He is 13 years older than me.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I kind of grew up like an only child. I'm not an only child, but I grew up like an only child because he was in college by the time I was. He was in college. Like he was in college, so.
Okay. Did he also play sports growing up?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Me and my brother couldn't be more opposite. Like he was definitely like the nerdy, like in the books. He also double majored and graduated in 3 years from Stony Brook. He's fluent in Mandarin. Like he lives overseas, so we are totally opposites.
Wow, that's really neat, though. Wow, that's pretty cool. So, there's a video out there when you were, I think it was after the SEC tournament loss, and they were asking you about what it meant to play for Alabama, and you broke down in a sentimental moment, just kind of explaining the meaning of it for you, and then your coach is also kind of there and aiding you with that. So we saw what it meant then and how much it meant for you then. Is there anything you want to add now that you weren't able to say then that kind of resonated with you for what playing for Alabama those 5 years meant for you and what it means to you at this point in time?
Yeah, I think, well, one, I'm an emotional person. Like I feel like, one, I'm like an empath. I feel all different types of emotions. So I knew that question was coming, and I knew the tears were gonna come also. But I think the biggest thing for me, as I kind of alluded to earlier, like it's leaving a legacy. I was a starter on the 2021 team that made the tournament, like for the first time since I before I was even born. Like now I'm a part of that team. So when I am in Coleman and I look up at the banner, like I was on that team, like I was a huge part of that team. Yeah. I think that's like one of the coolest things. And then starting my student org, Project ID, like stands for inclusion and diversity, and creating a safe space for minority student athletes to like be themselves, have crucial conversations, laugh, like cry if they need to, like really being that resource to other student athletes is something that I think resonates with me the most. Like I had the 1,200 points. Like I think I'm like top 5 all time in games played. Like none of that stuff really matters to me but it's like the fact that I was able to like make an impact on student athletes' lives off the court, off the field. I think that's the thing that resonates with me the most. And the thing that I'm most proud of. Um, yeah, I think it's crazy that to think that not only is Project ID like still around, but it's manifested to now be the umbrella for all the other affinity groups that Alabama has. So now it's Black athletes built by Bama. Now it's Bama International. Now it's women in sports. Like they didn't have that when I first got there, or it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So for me to kind of been the catalyst, along with my best friend and teammate Jada and Aaliyah Wells, I was on the volleyball team. Like along with those people, and Colby, that she ended up leaving, but like it's just like so much of a blessing that I've really created this safe space so that now, I mean, I still follow their social media channels, so it's like I'm keeping up with what they're doing, and there are like so many different initiatives that like I wasn't even thinking of at the time that I started it, that it's really manifested itself into. So I think that's like the biggest thing for me. And then not only making it, but also like back on the court, it's like not only making it in 2021, but then being on the team in 2023 to make it again. So now it's like the second time in 3 years. Now my senior year, we did catch the COVID bug. If we wouldn't have caught the COVID bug, I for sure think we would have made the tournament because we were on the bubble. But like to just be a part of that, and now Alabama being freaking ranked is insane. Like they're ranked, like they were projected like on the top half of the like top 5 in the conference, and it's just like that's how I wanted it to go. Like even though if I couldn't be on a top 25 ranked team, like that doesn't matter, like because that's where they're at now. Right. So I think those are the things that I think about, I'm proud of, and things I like sharing about my experience the most.
Yeah, those are some very special moments. Even like you said at the end, where even though they're ranked now, you're not on the team right now, you still have that pride because okay, I left a legacy when I was there, and I'm part of that. Like I'm still a part. Like I feel that same way. I graduated from your rivals, Georgia. But I feel that pride every time I see like my team doing good. Every sport I'm watching, I'm seeing them doing good. Even though I'm not there anymore, I'm still feeling like, yes, that's us. That's us right there. Yeah. But then also, like you said, just leaving that impact of diversity and inclusion in sports, and now seeing how your Project ID campaign was able to grow into other avenues and people were able to carry that torch is very great to see that you left something great for the school to build upon. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I think the craziest part that I kind of left out, but the wildest part to me is that my 5th year, I was on homecoming court at Alabama. I was on homecoming court. I didn't even make homecoming court in high school. I was not on homecoming court in high school, but yet I was like our SAC group like voted me to be the athlete representative for Alabama, like for Alabama athletics, on homecoming court. And like that in itself, like was an insane experience. I mean, I'm in the homecoming parade. Me and my dad are on the field at halftime of the homecoming game. Like, I didn't win, although I feel like, I need to recount. But
right, like, let's run it back.
Like, run the boats back. But for me to like be in Tuscaloosa, and then I'm in Walmart, like grocery shopping, doing my thing, and people are like, "Oh, like you on homecoming court? Like, I love like what you stood for." Because like my whole thing was like, I want to break the stigma of what a queen is supposed to look like. Because I'm not only like am I a Black gay woman, but I'm also more masculine presenting. And when you think of Alabama, you don't think of that. So it's just like those type of things where it's like my impact at Alabama was so beyond the basketball court that like I couldn't have done it any differently. Like I wouldn't have wanted to go anywhere else. Because not only like did I make an impact like at that university, but also like just the history of the state itself, and honestly the university itself. And for me, like I said, as a Black woman, to like make that much of an impact, I think that goes a long way than anything I could have done on the court.
Yeah, I agree. That's very special. And speaking of that, you said that there wouldn't be anything you could change. But if you could go back and change one thing, whether it's athletic, whether it's academic, or just your time experience in Alabama in general, what would it be and why?
It'd definitely be basketball related. I think for like when I first got to college, right, you have that shock of like, am I supposed to be here? Like, is the schedule is different? You're working out twice, 2, 3 times a day. Like, you're running. I mean, I remember calling my dad like, I want to quit. Like, I don't want to do this. My dad was like, you're gonna quit and do what? Like, what is the option?
What you gonna do?
Yeah, like, because you're not coming back here. Like, I don't know what. No, but so I think I would say like I would have put more time and effort into like basketball. And I know that kind of sounds like crazy, but I tell people, and I'm really transparent about this, like I have a God-given basketball talent. And although I was with my dad in high school and like putting in extra work, I know that there were people basketball wise that were working harder than me. Um, and I think if I would have had that same mentality of like wanting to get an internship or like wanting to like set myself up in my professional career, if I would have had that same like intentionality and like drive to do that on the basketball court, I probably would be in the WNBA right now. So I think like it wasn't my calling, it wasn't necessarily my passion, but if there was one thing I can change, I do wish that. Now, I will say, like, don't get me wrong, I did put in work because to go from an 18% 3-point shooter to 35, like clearly I had to do some type of like extra work, like fixing my form, all that stuff. But really like truly have that drive and like kind of tenacity, like mama mentality almost, to like really push the rest of the team. I feel like that's something that I definitely would change. I feel like I was a good like leader by example, like on the court of like how to carry yourself, like the mental game of basketball is like it's still a business, but like knowing how to handle it and navigate it. I think I was a good leader in that front and a good leader by example in that front, even in practice. But like it's like the off the court, like after hours, like what kind of example do I want to set like that? If I could go back, I probably would be do a little bit more than what I already did. But yeah, I think that would probably be my biggest thing.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying that because you definitely did put in a lot of work in order to increase that percentage and still, get that playing time, be a starter, all that. But I do understand that where you feel like, oh, if I would have done just a little bit more, because like you said, like there's always someone who's gonna be better than me, but like what are they doing outside of the court, outside of practice in order to get better than me? They're always doing something more. So I do understand that. But yeah, I'm excited to see where your journey takes you from where you are now. So
Yeah, I know. Things like I said in the beginning, like things happen for a reason. Though I do think like my 5th year, I ended up tearing my hamstring. So I think at that point I was kind of like, oh, like yeah, I'll give this overseas thing. I'll at least try it. Like if I don't like it, like I can always leave, like come back. But like I'll at least give it a try. But then I tore my hamstring, and I had never experienced like a major injury like that before. So I think that really threw me off course a little bit, off track. I didn't like it's a mental thing, but you don't really understand until you're in it. And part of me thinks like, did I come back too early, or like was I just like blocking myself mentally? Like I don't know. But then like I ended up like being out a couple months or like a month or month and a half, something like that. Came back, I wasn't really playing because like it was middle of SEC play. They got a flow, they were winning. Like, why throw me in the lineup? Understandable. Like, I wasn't the same, Meg the baller, quote unquote, that I was prior to the injury. But things happen for a reason. It wasn't meant for me to be overseas, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, that's how it works out. But I'm very happy with where I am now. So it all worked out.
Yeah, I believe that as well. I know God always like puts dreams in our hearts, but then he also has bigger plans for us than we can imagine. So I know that everything that is happening where you are now, like you mentioned earlier, is where you're supposed to be, and he'll navigate it from there. Just trust his plan.
Right.
So
right, absolutely.
Wow. Well, we're getting down to the last question of our segment. If there was one piece of advice that you would give an athlete who has been through or is going through what you've been through, what would it be?
This is something that my dad was a very wise man, like a very wise man. I swear he had like a book of like wise words that he would just pull from. But I think the thing that stuck out with me the most is you don't know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. And I think that is something that I live by now. Like I said, just being where your feet are, because like when you look back at it now, like, man, it was hard. And like, I would, if you get in the locker room after practice, and it's like, why are we doing this? But it's like that camaraderie and that community is something that I miss the most about basketball. Being able to like walk outside and go visit your friends is something that you don't necessarily have like in the adult world, right? Because you all spread out. Like my bestie's overseas in Greece right now. I haven't seen her since July, so it's just like those type of things where just enjoy the moment. It's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I promise you, once you get into the real world, it's like things become easier, and all the hardships and all the things that you've experienced in college, that it's like, why do I have to go through this? Or like, what is this going to be like? Or, it's just preparing you for life after sport. So it's just, take it one day at a time. Like, don't get too down on yourself. Don't get too hard on yourself. Because things will be okay. Things will get better. So I think that's the biggest thing, just, you don't know the value of a moment till it becomes a memory.
I like that. And that's so true. I remember my senior year, I was an athlete in college, but I liked watching and playing sports, and then I'm doing a sports podcast and now there's that. I love sports. But I remember just going through like certain assignments or certain reporting things I had to do because I was a journalism and sports media major. And it just felt like a lot. There's so much going on. But now that I'm out of it, I'm like, oh, I miss my friends. Yeah. I miss being back there. At school, just the memories. I'm just thinking back to them all and just reminiscing. And so it just, like you said, you don't know the value of it until like you think about that memory. Like, oh, wow, that was so fun.
Yeah. And you just, like, there's so many learning experiences. Like, I mean, even like listening to Coach Curry, it's like, she's saying things and it's like, okay, girl, like, I was like, okay. But now I'm an adult and like, I'm now, like, this is the second season of me not being an athlete. I'm on like my full-time job. Like, it's just like the things that she was saying. It's like, like, even though I didn't want to be there, it was difficult. Like, it ended up working out in the long run. And there's no other experience that can simulate like being a student athlete in college. So just use what you've learned and apply that to the real world. Cause life is life. Like, it will be hard, but I promise you, like, after that college, I wish I was on year 7 playing right now. Right. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a good piece of advice as well. Just take the lessons that you learned and kind of apply it to your life post-grad. Like, it doesn't have to go away just because college ends. Like, you can still apply that and, relive it. So I like that. Wow. Where can people find you on social media along with your stories and podcasts?
Yeah, so I'm Meg the Baller on every platform. That's like my main Instagram, TikTok. That's where I post my stories. I am going to plan on, depending on, you don't know what's going on with TikTok for real, but I do plan on making like Crimson Chronicles, like a podcast in the future. I'm like kind of cool with some of these athletes that, have like Ryan Howard that have hung up 40 on me. So hopefully in the future I can, maybe get them on and, hear their perspective, because y'all seen my low light perspective. So for them, it was a highlight. So share some of that back and forth.
That would be fun to watch. I'll definitely tune in. So let me know when you do that.
We'll do for sure.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited to put this story out there and let people know who you are and just like see where you go from in life.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was fun. Very fun.